1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Well, welcome. Oh, geez. Yum, yum, yum. There's a little gravelly tone to the voice today. Welcome to a snowy Tuesday, right? The 10th of December. Good heavens. I'm still in a June state of mind. My sister's joining us from St. Louis. Hi, Suze.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
We're pretty good over here. So there's, I don't know. I'm so confused. I mean, they forecast snow and it doesn't come. Then as far as I know, they didn't forecast this. And now I woke up and I thought, what the heck?
I think we should be able to sue them. I mean, because I get anxious about it. I go, dear, I have to go, because now I'm suddenly this old lady, and I get anxious when I think the weather's going to be bad and I have to be out in it, or I have to, make sure there's no ice. And they lie. They just flat out lie.
Well, they're wrong. They really are wrong. And the thing is, they've never had...
But they hype their wrongness.
Right. That's true. They make such a big to-do, and they do make anxious people more anxious, and they even take people who aren't anxious and make them anxious. You're not becoming one of those people who runs out and buys toilet paper and milk, are you?
Oh, no, but that's only because I always have toilet paper.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I live my life in a constant state of just-in-casedness.
Oh, you're a prepper, kind of.
I am.
You're a bit of a prepper. And anyway, on your shopping list, if you thought, I'm not going to be able to get out of the house for 2 days, you wouldn't have toilet paper. I mean, you'd have, like, wine.
Yeah.
Right? I mean...
I would have wine and protein and some fresh veggies and a lot of ice melt.
A lot of ice melt, yes, indeedy. So anyway, it's snowing here, and everybody's freaking out, and there's accidents all over the place. I was heading here, and there was a truck jackknifed across the, street. It is, I guess, icy out there. So anyway, be careful. I'll tell you the way to go is public transit today. I got on that bus and zipped right down the old dedicated lane and got here in moments.
That's nice. Well, and I was heartened to see that I could get out there with the old shovel, even though, I employ a service and pay them gazillions of dollars to usually just clear my lawn as opposed to my driveway. But this year, because I now am the proud owner of a power drill, I went out and I drilled holes in my lawn and stuck in some reflective things right before the first ice storm hit.
Wait a minute. You lost me back when you said the guys clear your lawn.
Well, that's because they can never figure out where the driveway is.
Oh, where the driveway is as opposed to the lawn.
It's snowed a lot.
Okay. And
last year they missed it by a good 2 feet.
Okay, and I really didn't understand. You got a power drill?
Yeah.
Is that a gift?
Well, have you ever tried to stick sticks in the ground?
Sticks?
That you want to actually stay there for a while? Well, let's just make this. I'll just shortcut. I live on Missouri clay.
Okay, so you can't. And why are you trying to put sticks in the ground?
Well, I'm putting reflectors. Oh, I'm lining the outline of my driveway.
Oh, now I got it. I got it, with those like reflector things, so they know where your driveway is.
It's not a straight shot up to a driveway,
right,
10 feet from the street.
Right, okay. Well, I'm
so
glad
I got that all done,
understood.
And that was no big deal. The hardest part was getting the stupid stickers off the back of the red stuff. That's not where you put them, clerks. Anyway.
Stupid stickers! There's a pet peeve. Stupid stickers!
Really? Did they put this? They managed to put a 4-inch long by 1.5 inch wide sticker along the back side of the reflector, rendering one side of the reflector
useless.
Unreflective.
Yeah.
And they were the kind that won't come off.
Yeah, what is that? Surely there, because, some stores employ ones that very quickly, come off without mess. And then there's those others that, you're scraping, then you need Goo Gone, then you need God knows what, and it's just, well, never mind.
Or wrap it on the 10-foot-long stick. Anyway, but I did that. But that's not why I was saying any of this. What heartened me is that along came the ice, and back came the guys to, put down salt and everything, and they found my driveway, which I was proud of, but that doesn't do enough. It's just going to refreeze. So I got out there with my handy shovel, and I got all the ice off of my driveway all by myself.
Good for you, Susan. Now, you had a funny I have this picture in my head because your driveway slopes. But
of my
rescuing your husband once.
Well, it was a legendary ice storm that dropped at least 4 or 5 solid inches of ice on everything.
Oh, God.
And my husband sort of wasn't paying attention, and this was years ago. He had on a long flannel nightshirt and some slippers, and he went to the bottom of the driveway to pick up the newspapers, and there was no way he could get back up. And I realized that he had been out there for a long time, and then realized what was happening, and immediately, of course, as any good wife would do,
started laughing,
dissolved into laughter so hard that I could barely.
So did you watch his efforts?
Because he would get 2 steps and then just slide down.
Yeah.
And it didn't help to go over to the grass because the grass was under 5 inches of ice.
Okay, so there he is.
And he's at the bottom of a hill, and I can't go down there because then it'll just be 2 of us stuck. So I start shooting tools out of the garage down the slope of the driveway, hoping that one will get close enough to him that he can use it.
What kind of tools were you throwing at the poor man in his nightshirt out in the ice?
Shovels.
All right, but so...
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that actually worked was a bulb planter.
Oh, yeah. Okay, because it has, teeth
because
on the end.
Because it has a circular sharp blade on a handle.
It's like a clamp-on or whatever you call
it.
Those things.
And he could dig it in and pull himself up.
You could have, thrown a rope. I go, did you have a rope and then haul him up?
I did not have a rope, or you betcha I would have tied myself to to a car and rappelled down the driveway.
I love it.
But the fact of the matter is that ice didn't go away for a long time, and what you saw in short order was exactly that. The people rigged ropes to get down to their mailboxes and back up, and cars were all parked in the street, and it was that way for a good 10, 12 days.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, St. Louis weather is, it's nothing that I was ever used to, but in its own strange way, it can be extraordinarily beautiful.
It can be beautiful, it can be challenging. I was talking to our mother last night.
Yes, I know. I didn't return your call, dear sister, because I simply called our mother, and I said, call Lynn.
She thinks you're dead. Okay, so I figured that's what happened. Anyway, she said, I can't talk long. I'm going out. This is after she had told me it was 20 below. And I said, what the heck are you going out for if it's 20 below? She'd just come in.
Right, she'd been out all day.
Yeah, she'd been out all day, and then I'm in a hurry. I'm going out. And she was going out to something so that no one in their right mind would walk 2 feet to go to, let alone 20 below zero go to.
But that's probably why she was going, because she felt bad because no one would go.
No one would go. She'd be the only one. I think she said, Judy Crane is doing a reading of Ruth Cluson's work.
Oh, no.
Okay, now because nobody knows who Judy Crane is, but Ruth.
No, but let's just put it out there.
What?
Even if you did know, you would be
still
one of the
go.
people that would not be going.
Said, Mother, who's gonna go? It's 20 below. I'm going. For Judy. Yes, she was. Anyway, Ruth Cluson was a Green Bay native who headed the League of Women Voters nationally. And I guess Judy was doing I don't know what she was doing, but a reading. I wouldn't go to a reading no matter what.
No, but I remember when I was a little girl that Mom was a very active member of League of Women
Yes, she
Voters.
was. Yes, she was. Very much so.
And she really liked all of the women that she met through it, who were all women that
were smart as heck.
She thought she might not have run into. And as I recall, they were really interesting women.
Oh, but they were. And they were smart as blazes. Those were the days when, women, intelligent women, often didn't have, they weren't working. So they, in that regard, they did that kind of volunteer work, good work. Or as
mother so concisely said to the upstart young law school classmate of mine who asked my mother what a woman like she might do in such a backwater as Green Bay for stimulation. And she responded to him with an eyebrow up, we stimulate ourselves.
Well, Mom, getting a little racy there.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I was complaining yesterday about people on airplanes that recline their seats back because I think there is no excuse for it. There is no. It is you might as well stick a neon sign over your head saying I
think they just shouldn't even allow the seats to do it.
Right.
If they've taken away all the room, they should only allow exactly 1 inch of movement in case there's some reason that you can't sit exactly upright, right, because of a back situation. But other than that, no, they've taken all the optional room away. You can't do it.
Yeah. Mary writes that if she ran the airline, the extra legroom seats would be free to tall people, and that height would be confirmed at the gate. Tall people would be ushered in. You do. I was sitting next to a man who was like 6'7", 6'8", and I couldn't wait to see. I was in my seat first. I couldn't wait to see how he would
fold himself in there.
Yeah, and then. Lucky for him, it was the guy in front of me who reclined. I cannot imagine what would have happened if someone had tried to recline on him. By the way, Mary also says this in her email. By the way, I love how Jess and Tom are always familiar with anything X-rated. And I'm always clueless, right? And she said, your staff is impressive. My staff? My rod and my staff, they comfort me. Jess, you're my staff.
Yeah.
And rod's are 6'2" plumber.
Yeah. Well, I won't get into it for the sake of my audience because I won't redo yesterday's show. But Susan, I just have to ask my sister quickly. Do you know what anal bleaching is?
Well, I assume it's the purification of one's
anus.
Posterior.
The whatification?
Purification?
Okay, by
beautification?
By bleaching the anus.
Yes.
Here's my question about that. First of all, I mean, I think it's absurd, but why is a bleached anus considered beautification?
Don't ask me.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Women come with hair all over their bodies. Why is, just naturally, why is taking every single bit of it, except where acceptable, off, considered the standard of beauty?
Right.
The only thing that makes me happy about that is that suddenly men, like idiots, have decided that they should rip all of their hair out.
Well, we were talking about that yesterday, and somebody pointed out that the younger people generally are. They're getting rid of...
They're like hairophobic.
They don't like... It's pubic hair more than anything. Okay, so I'm sorry to my audience. But Susan, someone... Who was it? Was it somebody, a caller yesterday who said... Yes, it was a caller. A gentleman caller who said he considered it really creepy because he said a shaved pubic area looks like a child's pubic. So that there's something pedophiliac going on, even if people don't realize it. And he said a woman should look like a woman, a man should look like a man, and if you get rid of the hair, you look like a girl or a boy. Just saying. I'm just saying.
Well, I agree.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And I don't think we should discuss it further.
All right. Here's what I always thought about why do you stay in a car in a electrical storm? Because I've been told you're in a safe place if you're in the car.
Right. You are, but it's not because of the tires.
I had always thought it's because, and I would say to anybody...
Because the rubber was grounding.
The rubber is grounding, and you stay in the car because you're not going to... the rubber tires save you. And lo and behold, I found out today in the science section of the New York Times that in a lightning storm, you should stay in your car, but it ain't because of rubber tires. And
tell me why, because I only read the headline.
It says, first of all, they provide no insulating protection. The reason is, and if you think I understand this, I basically understand it. It is the conductive nature of a mostly metal vehicle that actually offers the best chance of protection. Most of the current, if the lightning strike, is carried on the skin of the car. And in fact, this phenomenon is called the skin effect. And the protective shield is sometimes referred to as a partial Faraday cage, named for the scientist Michael Faraday.
So you end up looking like something like the Back to the Future car going through the time warp.
Right. But it says if there is a lightning storm, and the best advice is to stay in the car, but also if you're in it, don't touch any conductive part of it. Like don't touch a metal part of it, including don't touch the radio dial, don't touch a door or window handle. Don't touch the gear shift.
Right, because that's all. If it's metal, don't touch it.
Right. And it also says all of this depends on your safety in the car, depends on whether or not the vehicle is wet. Well, of course it'd be wet. We're talking about a storm. Wet or dry. Metal or fiberglass, right? I mean, cars aren't necessarily made of metal anymore, are they? Aren't they made of, like, plastic?
Most of them are made of metal.
And whether or not it's a hard top or a convertible. So if you have a rag top, that ain't going to help you. Anyway, it ain't your rubber tires. Just telling you that. But you still, it says stay in the car. That, in fact, is
don't touch
proper.
anything.
And don't touch anything. Which means then you shouldn't drive you should just pull over and sit there like this? I mean, not touching anything. I guess that's what you're supposed to do. I do not know. Okay, so I'll tell you what, since we haven't talked about anything in particular.
Well, it doesn't just sit there. It dissipates after a while. It's not like unless you've got a live wire sitting on top of you.
Yeah.
That's a different situation. If you've got a live wire touching you or sitting on top of you, damn right, don't move. But if you're just driving through a storm and you get hit by lightning, what they're saying is it's the skin that protects you and doesn't send the surge through you. It's not the tires.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got that right. All right. So let me get a break out of the way, and then we'll come back and talk about something actually maybe of some substance and that has nothing to do with pubic hair.
Or bleaching.
Or bleaching of anus. After this.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Go to the all-new bergbargains.com for great deals on holiday gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. Log on now for great deals from Sephora, Atria's, Fair Day, P.F. Chang's, and Kohl's. Supplies are limited. The all-new bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains, bergbargains.com.
Packers.
Vikings.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we make a real difference in the building blocks of life. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly so do our communities. Real change won't happen without you.
Live united.
So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right. Hey, Susan, did you watch any of the Mandela thing? No.
You mean this morning?
Yeah.
I listened to it.
Okay.
I listened to Obama, who was on around, 6
Yeah.
a.m. my time.
He was pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did not watch. I figure I'll see it later this evening.
Well, he moved the crowd.
I heard part
totally
of his
connected
stuff. Yeah,
with them.
because yes, they definitely. Everybody's flipping. Wait till the Republicans flip out about the fact that he shook hands with Raul Castro. But, of course, if you're at Nelson Mandela's memorial service, I would think not shaking hands with someone you don't get along with would be not exactly
it would be
getting
directly contrary to some of his most famous advice.
Yes, exactly.
Like that which he gave the general that was coming to intimidate him.
Well, so, yeah. And when the president of South Africa stood up to speak,
they booed him.
They were booing. I mean, I'm thinking, oh my God. In front of every head of state in the universe, booing this poor guy. Not poor guy, he's an idiot, Zuma. And what else? I was shocked to hear that there was not a full house.
Well, it was pouring.
I don't care. I think it's outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, you got one chance to say goodbye to that wondrous being. Why would rain matter? And it was just
maybe rain matters because he's revered more around the world than he is at this place and time there.
No, not true. It's just not true. He's revered
then
there.
How do you explain it?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe because of all the security and the dignitaries that for the average person to get in, it became so difficult that they didn't. I can't explain it. I find it stunning that, they couldn't fill a 90,000 seat stadium. I'm even in the rain. I can't figure that one. Maybe someone will figure it out for me, but I don't get it. And yeah. So, do you have in St. Louis those cameras at some intersections that take a picture of the car
Yes, I'm currently refusing to pay a red light camera that was taken without a picture of the driver, and that both my husband and I are on the car title, and they've assessed me the penalty.
What's the penalty?
$100.
Yeah, that's what they're thinking of doing it.
No points. Because and guess why there's no points? There's no points because they can't prove who was driving. So if they can't prove who's driving,
they can't. They don't know. You
why? Under what law does it say that I'm required to pay the fine? In the state of Missouri, it's the driver that's responsible, not the titled owner of the car.
Well, if you're the titled owner, you're responsible for that car. And
not the way moving violations are handled.
Susan. So
not in the state of Missouri,
okay,
that's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying that one of you was driving the car and one of you went through a red light?
Perhaps. And I'm saying that under our Constitution, I'm not required to admit which of us, or they are not allowed to say, well, it must have been one of you.
Well, I have to tell you, I don't agree with you. I think you should pay up. Because I think that red light running is unbelievably prevalent and getting more so. And I think it's dangerous as heck because in Pittsburgh, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, your light turns green. Here's what I used to do. If my light turned green, I went.
No, I don't anymore.
Well, no, you don't anymore because you wait until all the people running the red lights, and it can be 3 or 4 cars, get done running the red light, and then you cautiously proceed. That's not the way it's supposed to be.
Well, in my case, it was a right turn on red. There was nobody coming, and there had never previously been a no right turn on red. And there was a green light for the people that were my direction.
All right,
so
I surrender.
I failed to notice that there was a separate no right turn ever.
Susan, get your
but that's what I'm saying.
Get your legal hat off, and okay, I'm not talking about your case because I don't care.
I am anyway.
I know you're getting all
It's just the principle
angry.
of the thing, and let me tell you something else. 3 people in the city challenged it because our Supreme Court held it invalid. And the city just dismissed forgave those tickets. So I'm just going to go and say, I'll sue you, forgive mine.
I think the threat to public health, safety, public safety, is trumps whatever. These legalistic arguments about who was driving the car.
I have to tell you, I don't really have a problem with those that actually promote safety. I have a problem with those that promote making municipalities money. And that's what's been happening in a lot of these
Well,
things.
but you know what the thing is municipalities do need to make money. And if they can make money by picking the pockets of people who run red lights, fine and dandy, and there is proof coming in from cities that do have these things that there is a definite, almost immediate reduction in red light running once the cameras are in effect. It has a definite, gets people's attention. And there are fewer crashes in intersections that have these lights. I just think that trumps all of this stuff. I do. And I know this people get very hot about this issue. And I don't think I've ever...
I don't have any problems with the ones that happen to show the driver.
What do you mean,
show the... It's just a basic Constitution. It really is. I mean, slippery slopes and all that. I think we need to...
What, you mean unless the camera shows...
And they do. Oh, it's just a positioning of the camera. Believe me. I've seen them with people's faces very visible. It's whether they're aimed at the plate or aimed at the driver.
Well, they have to be aimed at the plate because otherwise, who do they know what car? That's how they know the car.
They have it. I think that what they do is they have a double set of cameras and one catches it from behind.
Well, the Pittsburgh City Council is scheduled to vote today on whether we will become a city that...
I think there's a perfectly constitutional way to do it, and in that case, I think I'm all for it, because I agree with everything you said.
Here's what it says our legislation says. Sounds like the same stuff you have, though. It calls for a $100 penalty for violations with no points assessed. The violations are not added to a driver's record and will not affect insurance coverage. The penalty is assessed against the registered owner of the vehicle, regardless of who is driving, but allows for appeal hearings at which the owner can offer evidence that she was not operating the vehicle at the time of the violation. The owner cannot be compelled by the city to reveal who was driving. They just want the $100. Now, you think that's unconstitutional?
Well, I'm not sure ours reads quite that way. I mean, prove you weren't driving, that's fine. Although, actually, yeah, I do think that's constitutional. In this country, unconstitutional. You do not have to prove your innocence in this country. They have to prove your guilt.
Well, they have proof of the guilt in that they have your car.
They have proof of the guilt of the car.
All right. But the law says it doesn't matter who's driving. It's the title owner.
If that's the municipal law, that's fine. What I'm saying is that in this case, the municipal law is contrary to what the state law defines as a violation.
Okay. I think a lot of I don't know what I mean. I know we're under surveillance constantly, and some people just knee-jerk say no more cameras, no more.
I don't feel that way.
I don't feel that way about this.
We got the Boston bombers because of those sorts of things.
Well, I really I am outraged by people who run red lights. I am, and it's normal, everyday people, little old ladies, and they just can't bear the thought of stopping. They got plenty of time to stop.
No, I'm only outraged by the ones that go 20 miles an hour down the street until they think that they're going to miss the light, and then they go 40.
Well, I hope this council approves this. I don't know if they're going to or not, because I'll tell you, in my neighborhood, there's a street, Penn Avenue. And it is a death strip, because anybody trying to cross that street, which I have to do all the time, had better not, when it turns green, think that means go. Not if you're crossing Penn Avenue. You'll be killed.
No, I always look, because there's always some yahoo that just goes sailing right on through.
And I was afraid at first. I thought that they take, sometimes, there's a yellow light. You go in and you end up, halfway through it turns red. But it does not. That you're okay with these cameras. The camera only clicks when somebody passes this line that they must somehow have on the road. After the red light has, in fact, engaged. So anybody who crosses once that red light is engaged is going to get a $100 fine. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. People say, oh, it's just a way to get money. Well, fine. It's a way to get money and also improve public safety, I think. So I'm for them. And I suspect I'm going to be in a minority with the audience, but I am. I'm for that.
No, I live in terror. Again, I'll state my limited objection, and that's that they should be able to identify the driver, and the technology exists, and there would be no constitutional issue at all about guilty until proven innocent.
Well, hey, back to the rubber tires?
Yes.
PJ says, you mentioned that the original theory was that tires grounded you and therefore kept you safe. Even though the car tire theory has been disproved, it is still important to note for safety reasons that you don't want to be grounded.
Oh, that's right.
Why is that right? I don't know.
Because that means that you're pulling off the electricity.
Being grounded allows electricity to pass through you, letting you be electrocuted.
Right.
Keep this in mind if you're ever in a shocking situation. You don't want to be grounded.
Like, don't hold on to the metal lamppost for support.
Oh, God. That would not. Is there anyone in the audience who's ever been hit by lightning and lived to tell the tale? That would be a hair-raising experience, I'm sure. All right, Susan, I've got something that was in the New York Times today, and it's about what has happened to journalism because of social media and not just social media, social media and all of these quick these internet information sites like Huffington Post, Gawker, what are they? BuzzFeed. All actually, I check those things out a lot to get stories and information. And this article makes quite clear that the people running those sites do not in any way subscribe to a journalistic standard that is what certainly I was taught in journalism school.
Right.
Or
that even acknowledge that such a standard exists.
Right. Which is, hey, before you post it, before you publish it, before it's out there, would you please check to make sure that this is legitimate? And there's quotes in this article from the folks at these sites saying they can't do business that way. I find this amazing. They're talking.
Well, they always bring up when they discuss these things, they bring up the Chuck Todd quote that it's not his job to be a fact checker, which just leaves people slack-jawed. Well, if you hold yourself up as the reporter of news, which we define as factual information, then who is supposed to be the fact checker?
Exactly right. So I just want to say, I thought I was sort of savvy. Skepticism of anything you are reading on the internet is the absolute position that you should take. Absolute position. Not to believe anything.
Right, and they because the recent scandals in, like the last decade at the New York Times when reporters were found to have fabricated sources and people were shocked, absolutely shocked. There's a reason that they were shocked, and that's because the expectation is that everything is not only vetted once, but twice and three times.
Well, so
And this is, I made it up.
It's over. I'm telling you. It's over. It's just over. And then what often happens is the so-called respectable media often will report something that is, say a story goes viral. They might acknowledge that there's this thing out there, and it's like it's a race to the bottom, and it is a race. It's like whoever gets it out there, whoever gets the most hits, whoever. I'll listen to some of what they say. This is the. Oh my God! What's it? The guy who is the editor at Gawker or BuzzFeed. He says that they have to. There's a frantic conversation going on the internet and in social media. And he says, this is where our readers live. Our readers are seeing all this stuff. And I feel like there is an expectation that we are reporting on the culture they're living in.
Well, but so if it's a culture of lies, that's fine.
And distortions. And yeah, that's right. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. And here's somebody that's actually, subscribes to the idea that journalists are supposed to fact check says, okay, so that's just another way. He says this is journalism. The new kind of journalism is essentially an act of pointing. Look over here. That's interesting. Look over there. That's interesting. It has to do with if it's interesting. It doesn't have to do with veracity. It has to do with, oh my God, look at this. Boy, will this go viral. Or boy, will people be clicking on our site for this one. Look what's going on over there. Not, is this true?
Well, but, again, I hate to be so cynical about the whole thing, but it's in the best interest of corporate America to be able to totally manipulate our truth.
Well, it's going to be easier and easier because...
if I don't know who you think owns these sites.
Yeah. Here's what... They say that actually social psychologists are looking into the expectations that people have. And if you look at younger people, the ones that are, completely immersed in all of this and don't have that kind of sense that we old folks have about what a proper journalistic standard is. It says right here, it is unclear how much readers care whether a fascinating story is true or not. They don't care. If it's a good story, if it's entertaining, that's the standard. Susan's.
I'm just, yeah.
It's I got to tell you, this is only leading to someplace bad. And it already has. I mean,
we're already in someplace bad.
Well, yeah, but it's going to be worse.
I was just at a baby shower for yet another grandniece.
Mm-hmm.
And now you not only have to go and eat sort of girl food and sit around endlessly watching someone open presents, but now there's like jobs you have to do and games you have to do. So first you have to address your own thank you envelope. Then there's a long page to fill out that is going to end up being in a book apparently for this child. But one of the things they ask is what's happening in the world today. And, I wrote, oy vey, don't ask, I hope it's better when you are.
Well, it won't be. It won't be. I mean, listen to some of what the editors of these sites that I'm talking about, where people go for news, say. It says here, editors at these sites acknowledge, frankly, that there are trade-offs in balancing authenticity with the
truth.
Balancing truth with the need to act quickly in a hyper-connected age. Here's John Cook, editor-in-chief of Gawker. We are dealing with a volume of information that it is impossible to have the strict standards of accuracy that other institutions might have.
And that's why they falsely labeled total innocence in things like the Boston bombing.
That's right. Here's a guy from the Huffington Post, Washington Bureau Chief, Ryan Grimm. The faster metabolism, that's how they look at the world out there now.
Yes, because they aren't lying. It's simply an organic process.
Right. The faster metabolism puts people who fact-check at a disadvantage. This guy is the editor, the bureau chief for the Huffington Post. People who fact-check are at a disadvantage.
No, it's just easier to put all the wrong information out there and then to go, oops, we're wrong.
I have to tell you,
and who cares what harm we created in the meantime?
And it's pointed out in this article that the Huffington Post won a Pulitzer Prize last year. Gawker, which is also, this is one we're listening to how Gawker was the first to report Toronto's mayor's cocaine use.
Right.
Fine. So every once in a while, they get some stories right, they break stories here and there, and then the rest of the time it's like, are we first? I mean, get it out there.
They get stories right sometimes, but they get them right because they haven't bothered to corroborate the story, which so-called reputable news sources are required to do with, just within their own board of ethics.
Okay, let me just give you another quote from Gawker's editor-in-chief. We assume a certain level of sophistication and skepticism of our readers. So, it's their sophisticated, savvy, skeptical readers who are supposed to slog through the morass of crap that they throw out as news. I have to tell you, what I'm dumbfounded about in this article is the forthrightness of these editors.
Yep. Sure we lie. Make something out of it.
Hey, it's a heavy-duty metabolism out there now. We'll rely on the sophistication and skepticism of our readers to know whether they should believe what they're reading or not.
Because there's absolutely no place where they can go and be assured that the information is correct.
Right. And there is no incentive for us to fact-check. Here's another guy saying, this one's from the Huffington Post, look, if you throw something up without fact-checking it, and you're the first one to put it up, and you get millions and millions of views, and later it's proved false, you still got those views.
Who cares? They don't care. All they care about is the views.
He said the way the system works, the incentive is to get it up, and it doesn't matter.
Well, because they sell ad revenue based on clicks.
That's right. That's all they want is those clicks.
So when you want free content, this is how you pay for it. It's worth, as usual, as some wise person once said, it's worth every penny you pay for it.
In other words, it's worthless. And this is going to be, this is our journalistic standard heading into the brave new world that we inhabit.
It's a great, we're worthless, but we're first.
I'm blown away. I really am. I'm blown away by this story. It's in the New York Times today if you want to read it for yourself. But it's specifically, I want to get a break in here, and I'll come back and I explain that this story is really talking about that one needs to be very, very skeptical when a story goes viral. And invariably, it is the viral stories, the ones that everybody's just sending off to everybody, that turn out to be incorrect. So, before you forward something wondrous onto somebody else. But you see, here's the thing they said it doesn't matter whether it's true or false. Even on the consumer end, there's evidence that the people, if they loved that story, whether it's true or not, it has value to the reader. They don't care if it's true or not. I recall...
And that's what Fox News and MSNBC and those places where they have a ideological following,
right?
They're amongst the worst because they don't care. They know that as long as they're giving their watchers, their viewers, what they want to hear, they're okay. And it's why Fox News pays $8 million to this guy that was their second in command for years, so he doesn't tell on them. I mean, it's just this one whole circle of lies that we all sit around and happily, I must say, happily ingest.
Well,
the only people that stop it are us. I don't know how.
Well,
I don't know how we communicate to the.
We're not going to, because Susan, the younger demographic, the younger you go, the more they have no sense that there's something awry here. It's over. Stick a fork in it. Journalism. Take a break. We'll be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
just in time for the holidays. Little's Shoes is your UGG headquarters. Little's has the largest selection of UGGs for men, women, and children to stay warm with shearling-lined boots, shoes, and slippers. Don't forget to get your hats, gloves, scarves, and more. Bring the entire family to view one of the largest in-store UGG shops in the U.S. All available at Little's Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store. Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill or littleshoes.com.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual holiday guide magazine is available now. Pick up one today for great holiday gift ideas from your favorite local merchants and restaurants. Plus George Takei, Diego Garcia, Out of the Furnace, and News of the Weird. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com. On your smartphone at citypapermobile.com and check out the new CP Haps app, available for download from the iPhone App Store and Google Play.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Okay, continuing this and just wanting to understand, and here's where I feel like I must be out of it. The story that I'm talking about in the New York Times today is talking about 3 stories, recent stories, that went viral, that turned out to be either totally made up or definitely embellished. And none of these crossed my view, but I want to ask if you're aware of any of these, okay?
Okay.
There was something that went on Twitter back and forth that was the tweets of a feud on an airplane on Thanksgiving Day. Anybody get involved in that one?
I think I heard something.
Okay, Jess thinks she heard that. This guy named Elon Gale was the one who was tweeting this, and he was tweeting. One of the tweets says, "Our flight is delayed. A woman on the plane is very upset because she has Thanksgiving plans. She's the only one, obviously. I'm praying for her." That's the first tweet, right? Then he tweets again, "Yeah, she's telling the flight attendant that it's Thanksgiving. She wants them to know that she wants to have dinner with her family." So he starts creating this thing about this jerk woman who, thinks she's the only one whose plans are getting... And listen to this. He's 30 years old. He's a television producer. And he totally invented the whole thing. And he says that his fictitious Twitter tale of exchanging increasingly hostile notes with a fellow passenger spread rapidly. A compilation of his posts got 5.6 million views. BuzzFeed saw what was going on and posted it, attracting nearly 1.5 million viewers to its site. The New York Times travel section blog also linked to their story, but did label it as imaginary when it was discovered to be untrue, not by them. Okay, so here's a guy. He's a writer by trade. He decides that he's bored.
He's just entertaining himself.
So now you could argue that, so everybody had fun reading this escalating thing. He came up with a great idea. And he himself says he's very put out that people are saying that it was a hoax. Here's his quote. "I really have an issue with the word hoax. I was broadcasting to my Twitter followers who know what I do. It's the people who reported it who are deceiving their audiences. Nobody ever called me to verify the story." Okay, that's one of them. And I was out of it on that. That didn't cross my purview. Here's another one of the stories the Times is talking about. A child's letter to Santa Claus. I think I saw this. I do think I saw this. that written in crayon. And Jess saw that one. It was written by a grown-up comedian 3 years ago. But this story just took on, and people were sending it off. Look at what this little kid wrote. Not. And here, an essay. Oh, this is the one that really blows my mind. There was an essay on poverty that was not factual. And the woman who authored the essay started receiving donations because of her poverty. She made $60,000 like that. And when found out, she's said, I'm not giving it back. No one called me, she said. And on and on and on. Ms. Toronto people donated $60,000 for her vivid description of a life of poverty. And Gawker picked up her story and suggested that people stop giving her money. Eventually they did. But she said, I'm not returning the money.
Well,
it's a scam artist's dream.
Right.
This stuff.
People are forever, shaving their heads and claiming they have cancer, and people give them money.
Right.
They're just assume that absolutely nothing that you read on the internet is true. Nothing. Including, it's just like you're on a dating site and that picture of the person that wants to go out with you is too good to be true.
But where does that put us? Because I remember a time when I would read things in the newspaper and
believe them.
Absolutely believe them. And I had reason to believe them. And what is this? The consequence of this reality that you don't know if something is real or not these consequences are not good. It reminds me of something my kid said. Must have been about 9 years old, and he was playing a video game. I think it was like football, some kind of game. And I said, Sam, for heaven's sakes, it's a beautiful day outside. Why don't you go out and with your friends and actually play football, not pretend to play football? And he looked at me like I was an idiot and said, and again, I don't forget these things because they're so chilling in a way. He said, Mom, I prefer virtual reality. See?
Yeah, well,
there it is.
And for a child, don't you understand why? They're in control.
Yes, they're in control. But I prefer virtual reality. Well, you know what? That's what we all got now. Virtual reality.
No, and the lesson is it isn't real.
Mind-boggling to me. Anyway, Chuck writes this. Even if all journalism was deemed to be 100% reliable and without bias, most people would only read the headline and the first paragraph maybe of the article. Our time constraints, complicated by the volume of information that bombards our brain each hour, limits our ability to properly consume journalism, should we actually find any to consume. This is true, too. I remember ages ago when we talked about, we're entering what we're going to call the information age. It'll be everywhere. It'll be available. And I thought, this is amazing. And then it became very obvious that it wasn't an information age. It was just this sort of like cesspool of fact and fiction and lies and this and that. And yes, and we were all left to our own devices to slog through it and figure out what in this mire was true and what wasn't. And I think we're learning in terms of politics, like Susan mentioned, people who watch Fox because it tells them what of a world they want, and MSNBC is pretty much the same now on the other end, that I forgot what my damn point was. People will, out of that cesspool, extract what they want to believe.
And that's I mean, we've entered some sort of really strange place, like where we are no different than the chimpanzees in the experiment that are offered different buttons to push. And guess what? We push the one that pleases us the most, and the one that pleases us the most is the one that ratifies what we already believe.
Or, and here's the part that I think is becoming much more a part of it all, or that distracts and entertains us. And so rather than seeking out information, we seek out that which is something that you want to turn to somebody else and say, look at this, right? And that, again, is the stuff that often goes viral. And I just go back to the chilling thing about this is that the so-called editors of these internet sites don't think that fact is really all that important. That is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Of course, I want you to know that you can always believe anything and everything you hear on Lynn Cullen Live.
Except when I'm talking, because sometimes I bullshit.
Yeah, Susan is a total bullshitter, but I have pointed that out. And the more certain Susan seems, the more likely it is that she is bullshitting. Oh, God. Well, Suze?
Yeah?
And yet another fine hour of frivolity has come to an end. I thank you very much.
I thank you, too. And I would just like to remind you that next week you should call me in Green Bay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Will do. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And bye to all the rest of you, too. And I don't think we have a guest tomorrow, but I'll be here. We'll do it again.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.